Hey guys, here's some tips on repairing damaged speaker cones. Old speakers were made with paper cones that can be damaged quite easily, especially the older they are, the more brittle the paper gets. So it's quite easy to poke a finger right through it, or when you remove it from the cabinet, it might get snagged on a screw that's poking out. That's what happened to this one. I actually had a tear right here and another smaller one over here. Well, an easy way to repair those is to use some diluted glue like Eileen's Tacky Glue. This glue is especially nice because it retains some flexibility after it dries. Other glues like super glue or even nail polish you can use for smaller patches, but I wouldn't use them for larger ones because they are quite rigid when they dry, and that can affect the audio quality of the speaker. So what I do is I put a little bit of this glue in a bowl, about 2 parts glue to 1 part warm water. Mix it up nice with a nice soft sable brush, and then actually paint it into the speaker, allowing it to soak into the paper. What this will do is it will actually work with the existing paper fibers to kind of reconstitute it and bind it back together, so you don't even need to use a patch. In this case I did it a while ago and it's already dried, and as you can see it's quite strong and still flexible. Same with the other repair there. Now this speaker was a little bit more damaged and the paper was even more brittle, so what I did was, aside from patching up the one hole that was here, I just went over the entire speaker. So the whole thing as much has been reinforced now by the glue and still has some flexibility. So it should be good for some time to come. Now for bigger, or I should say for more severely damaged speakers, like this one's really bad, where there are entire sections that are gone, or other areas where the paper has completely separated from the main body of the speaker, what you can do is make some patches using coffee filters. In this case you can use tissue paper or tea bags. Just dump out the tea and just use the thin paper from the tea bag and make up patches like I've got here on the back. Take the little bit of coffee filter and soak it into the glue and water mixture and put it on like paper mache. So here's a small patch I have. Yeah, there's an area where there's a tear, and there we go. This speaker has some ridges in the paper, so I just smooth it out so it conforms nicely to the surface. Mop up any excess and allow it to dry. It really doesn't take too long, a couple hours. Now some of these larger areas where it's torn apart, what I'll do is use some blue painter's tape, tear off a few pieces and tape it on the back side so it's in the right position, and then apply in between the bits of tape. I'll apply some of the coffee filter patches. When those dry, I'll remove the tape and then put patches where the tape was covering it up, and I think that'll work out all right. Now the one area here where I don't have any paper material at all, ideally if I had another old speaker that I could sacrifice, I would tear some of the, or I should say just cut some of the paper cone material out of that, but I don't. So what I'm going to try doing is to build it up again with the coffee filters, but in this case I'm going to need something a little bit more substantial. This is quite thin material, so I'll probably build up 2 or 3 layers, gluing each layer, allowing it to dry, put on it, and putting on another layer. I'll try to match this ribbed contour, which may be a little tricky. I'm not sure what exactly this original paper is. It's kind of a heavy stock. Might even have some cotton content to it, kind of like dollar bills, where it's got a little more give to it than, or a little more strength to it than regular paper. But like I said, I don't have any suitable material on hand, so I'll give the coffee filters a try. Okay, it's been a couple days and I've applied my coffee filter patches and spread diluted glue over the speaker cone, and it's turned out quite well. Speaker's still pliable, and it's definitely stronger now than it was. You can see the patches underneath here. And looks pretty good. I may paint this black when all said and done, but otherwise, even like this, I think it looks fine. Now, what's left is this gaping hole over here. Now, I could apply a coffee filter, like I said a moment ago, and just glue it up and apply a couple more layers, and probably look and sound all right. But I want to try something a little bit different. I try taking a piece of thin plastic and put that over an existing area that's in good shape. Cut a suitable size of coffee filter, dilute it, but not so much that it'll run and drip down into the speaker cone, and press it against this and try to mold it to pick up these ridges and the curvature of the speaker cone. Let that dry, apply a couple more layers, and hopefully release it and apply it right over that hole. Well, that worked out pretty well. Took me about 6 hours to put this together. I put down first one layer with just a minor amount of glue and got it quite wet and kind of conformed it to it. Didn't sink into the grooves as much as I would have liked. So what I did was I used the back of a paintbrush to kind of emboss it down. Then after that dried a bit, I put on a second layer with a bit of a heavier glue to water concentration, and it's dried now, but not to the point where it's stiff. I don't want this to be rock hard. So it's just a little bit pliable, and it peeled right off of the plastic. So I've got myself a nice little patch to put in here. Okay, I've got the patch glued in place. It conformed to the curvature of the speaker nicely. The ridges were retained as well. I'll let that dry for a while, and then I'll apply some black paint. Well, here we are. It's been about 24 hours since my last clip. The patch I made dried up nicely. I then took some artist acrylic black paint and painted up the cone, and I replaced the plunger-like device, which I think is a hum dampener. And I figured as a finale you'd like to hear it playing, so I dragged out the whole radio chassis from the Westinghouse radio and powered it back up. I haven't fully restored the radio yet, so I imagine the sound quality will improve. But when I bought this, it was playing, so I knew electrically it was fairly sound. I also have it hooked up to a ISO tap transformer, which allows me to dial down the line voltage to 110. Because our radios this old were designed to run on lower line voltages than we have today, which are like 125, 127. Anyways, yeah, it sounds pretty good for what it is. You know, radios this old aren't going to sound that great no matter what. So I hope you found these tips useful, and maybe you can save a speaker too.